Please join us today for today's episode of Mind Your Health with Dr. Taras Nebulak. Who knew that a infectious disease guy would be so funny?
We had a ball today talking about viruses, talking about vaccinations. It was controversial and it was also a little irreverent, which makes it fascinating. So don't turn off this episode of Mind Your Health. You'll be surprised.
It was that much of a national crisis. If we remember, a president had died from the consequences of polio. One of the scariest things that you can see is the consequences of tetanus in a person who has not been immunized and has a late stage of the disease. Tetanus and rabies, terrifying. In a human that gets bitten by an animal, it's a 4 or 5 shot series along with immunoglobulins. It's a fairly intensive vaccination schedule. So each vaccine has to go through several stages of trials. There's animal studies, there's stage 2 and stage 3 human trials. If you want to be paranoid about something, you give it a big scary name and you become paranoid about it. Don't give so much weight to things you hear on TikTok. Your favorite influencer probably has very limited medical training.
Mind your health.
You got to mind your health.
Mind your health.
Treat yourself. You got to mind your health.
Hi, and welcome to Mind Your Health. Dr. David Burke, excited to see you today. And we have a glorious guest, Dr. Taras Nebulak. It's so good to see you. You are a glorious guest, so hush now. So we're excited, Dr. Taras, to see you today. We're talking about serious subjects in a fun way, we hope. You, sir, are a doctor of infectious disease. And when I think infectious disease, you can tell I have 10 grandchildren.
Yeah.
Okay? When I think infectious disease, I think hand washing.
Yep.
That's it. Isn't it, right? I mean, that's exactly what I think. If I wash my hands, I won't get cooties.
That cuts a lot of it down. I'll agree with that. Yeah.
Exactly. So before we get started about what you really do, can we talk a little bit about your background?
Sure. Yeah. So I grew up in New York, went to medical school there, trained in Mississippi and Louisiana.
Wait, stop. Do you love this?
Yeah.
What did
From
you?
New York to Mississippi. There's
Exactly.
a culture.
With that accent?
Yeah. So South Mississippi was interesting. I was automatically labeled the Yankee by everyone inside the hospital. No one could really place my accent. It's a mixture of Ukrainian and New York accents. So they, it was interesting. And then, but they, of course, they all had an accent.
Well, sure. Yeah, right, exactly. It wasn't just me. Absolutely. Exactly.
But I was lucky enough to train at LSU for infectious disease. New Orleans was an amazing city to train in. Lots of different pathology, tuberculosis cases. We had a few malaria cases. Mm-hmm. So, and after that, I went to Appalachia, Charleston, West Virginia. So that was very exciting.
Yeah.
That was a whole different place to experience. And finally wanted to move here. So lucky enough to be here now.
I mean,
Good.
It's really interesting. You have a 3-year-old too.
Yeah.
And so you're beginning to experience infectious diseases.
Yes, yes.
A lot of hand washing. So that's kind of good.
And even with all the hand washing, you're still sick every other weekend. So it does.
Well, that's true.
That's right.
For the few people who may not know what it means, infectious diseases, can you just sort of give us a broad spectrum overview of what infectious diseases are?
So anything on the spectrum from viruses, which are very simple organisms, to bacteria and yeast and all kinds of fungal infections. So
Fun.
all of that, yeah.
Do you have a private practice, or do you primarily see people in the hospital?
So I primarily, Monday through Friday, I see people at both Hilton Head Hospital and Coastal Carolina in Hardyville, and I have a full-day clinic on Wednesdays in Bluffton, 75 Baylor Drive.
Is it pretty much follow-up visits? I mean, how would I know? So I'm not feeling well. I'm getting sick. I can feel something in my chest. How do I know to go to my general practitioner? Or do I go to an infectious disease guy?
Well, if you're feeling something in your chest, you need to go to the emergency room.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
You go to the emergency room, exactly.
Yeah, right.
But generally speaking, it's the general practitioners are the ones that filter out the problems, and then they say, okay, well, this seems like something more than a basic problem. What if we send you to a specialist?
Okay.
To see if
All right.
they can tell you anything.
What is the deal with infectious diseases? It's so funny because I think we try to have subjects and topics where we can educate the public, and we try to focus on topics that are really big news to everyone.
Yeah.
And I'd be remiss, first of all, in doing research, malaria and TB were still really prevalent.
Yes.
So I saw that. But I think what a lot of people and a lot of folks around that I talk to, maybe it's just that I have 10 grandkids, are talking about vaccinations.
Right.
And COVID vaccinations. Don't I? Flu vaccinations. Don't I? I was telling David before we started, I think I told you too, that I have a friend who's got a 12-month-old, and mom is very much into saying, this is what I want and what kind of vaccination, when I want it. I don't want this. I do want that. So can you just kind of give us an overall discussion about what the heck is a vaccination and where did they get a bad rap is really what I wanted to know.
Or where do they get good information?
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, when we were kids, and here I am, when we were kids, you lined up in school and had a sugar cube
Right.
with a polio vaccination.
Right.
And you just took it. There was no question.
And at that time, it was that much of a national crisis. If we remember, a president had died, from the consequences of polio, and so the public was very much cognizant of, everyone had a neighbor, a cousin, someone that had suffered from it.
Okay.
And there was that visceral.
Right.
The understanding of this.
My sister had it and died.
Right.
Yeah,
This is,
got it.
I've seen the kid next door in an iron lung. I don't want that.
Okay.
And as that faded, as herd immunity developed, which means enough people were vaccinated where the virus couldn't spread the transmission was blocked, people began to forget.
Okay.
A good life makes people less
Complacent.
vigilant. Complacent.
Complacent.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should start back there then. When was the first vaccination for the United States developed? What was it? I don't really think I even know that. Or when did vaccinations start becoming required?
Well, smallpox, right?
Yeah, I mean, it had to be either smallpox or polio. I'm not sure about the years but it was early to mid 20th century.
Okay.
We're talking about, that's when most of the research was being done. That's when the vaccinations really started off with polio. Smallpox was a huge crisis and finally was eliminated in the 70s and 80s throughout the world.
70s and 80s? I didn't
90s.
realize.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, flu killed 1 million people, or lots and lots of people in the 1917, right?
Right. And the flu killed more people than World War I, which was considered the bloodiest, most brutal conflict at that time, until World War II came along. But influenza, the funny story of flu, the reason it became Spanish flu is because none of the other governments wanted to own up to it, so they took a neutral country like Spain and blamed it on them.
They said, okay, it came from Spain.
These guys aren't doing anything. We'll blame them.
Let's just blame it on them.
What the heck? So now, what are kids typically immunized for or vaccinated for now?
Sure. They're still immunized for polio.
Polio.
They're immunized for hepatitis. They're immunized for measles, mumps, rubella. These are the big important things.
Okay.
They're immunized for Tdap, which is tetanus, diphtheria,
tetanus, just-
pertussis.
Okay.
All these things. And kids play outside, they get themselves cut on fences or all these things. So it's important to have that vaccination. And and that's another thing. One of the scariest things that you can see is the consequences of tetanus in a person who has not been immunized and has a late stage of the disease.
Okay.
Tetanus and rabies, terrifying.
Are they? What
Yeah.
would I like? Actually, to that point, I'm sorry. Before you answer, wait. I just had a thought. I have to say it now, or I'll forget. with rabies. I hear more and more folks don't want to get their dogs vaccinated for rabies. And that brings me to your point, late stages rabies for people who have them.
Here's my counter argument for not wanting to vaccinate your dog. An animal that bites someone unprovoked,
Okay.
and there is no record of a rabies vaccination, has to be put down. Their brain has to be mushed in a blender and has to be tested for rabies. So if you have a dear dog in the family and you don't want that to happen, whatever you think the harm of the vaccine is, I promise you, you do not want your 6-year-old golden retriever
Brains mushed
getting
in
put
a
down by the
blender.
state, children crying, and brains mushed. So the consequences are worse. So I'm just saying.
Duly noted.
I don't even have a dog, and I might go out and start vaccinating some.
Just find a
And
random
God
dog.
forbid my kid be bitten with that. Then my kid who bit another kid, that could be bad.
Right, and you know, in a human that gets bitten by an animal, it's a 4 or 5 shot series along with immunoglobulins. So it's it's a fairly intensive vaccination schedule. So I love dogs. I have a dog.
Yeah.
Dogs can bite.
Yeah.
Because they get
That's what they
excited.
do.
They get provoked. That's what they do.
Yeah.
They're an animal. So why would you take the risk?
Okay.
Have to deal with.
Well, then let's shift that to people.
Yeah.
So why am I so afraid of a flu vaccination?
Yeah.
Why am I so afraid of immunizing my children? Help me here. Where did all of this get? Is it politicized?
No, it's misinformation. It's we're in the information age, right? I can pick up my phone and find anything that anybody said anywhere in the world. Doesn't say whether it's true or not.
Well, we were
So
just
there's just
talking-
so much out
right.
there.
We were talking before that you go to dinner with 7 friends,
Yeah.
and 6 of them are talking about, I would never get the COVID vaccination. I'm not getting immunized for whatever. And then they present these arguments. What are your counter? You had a good one for rabies and dogs. I want to hear what you got for some of these other ones.
No more blenders, please.
Yeah, no more blenders. Counter arguments, please.
I think 2 things happen with vaccines is that people think that the reason we schedule them so closely together, or not even that closely, but the reason we come up with these vaccination schedules is some kind of doctor fancy, or we just
Pull it out of your hiney.
right, pull it out of our hiney, or even wilder theories that there are pharmaceutical incentives to give all of these. And, as a practicing physician, I assure you, I have never received a cent from GlaxoSmithKline Corporation or Pfizer for recommending or not recommending anything. This does not affect my well-being at all. And, and the other aspect of it is they do have to realize that each vaccine has to go through several stages of trials.
Okay.
So there's animal studies, there's, and then there's stage 2 and stage 3 human trials. And essentially, these schedules were the ones that were proven to be effective in the studies. So when people break it up and say, well, I don't want to give this vaccine the second dose in a month, I want to give the second dose in a year. That was not studied.
Okay.
We have no way of knowing if it's going to be 60% is efficacious or 40% is efficacious.
Okay.
Or so I think that's what makes doctors concerned about breaking up the schedule. Certainly we don't want to override parents or take away their agency over anything, but they need to understand that there's large groups of dedicated scientists who designed these studies, who got this data, that this is how it works. And
It does seem.
does.
It does seem that big pharma is like everybody's like, well, big pharmacy wants us to do it this way, or the incentivizing of.
and there's no incentivizing, and it's big pharma is kind of like a catch-all for if you want to be paranoid about something, you give it a big scary name, and
Okay.
and you become paranoid about it.
Okay.
And the other thing with vaccines, I feel that people break up the ingredients of it, and they say, well, there's aluminum citrate, something. I don't know.
Right.
If that's an actual chemical, but
Right.
but I think there has to be a realization that all things in our lives are molecular, and they're made up of chemicals. An example I like to give people is an apple. A little apple
Seed.
seed contains cyanide. Now, if you were to take 18 apples, grind all the seeds together, and ingest them, you might actually do yourself some harm. However, we still eat apples because chemicals are inherent to nature. We are made of chemicals. Everything we eat is made of chemicals. We can't stigmatize chemicals because they sound scary. There's a great experiment where somebody took water and told people that there's dihydrogen monoxide within their food, and they're like, "Oh no, I must not have that."
It's like, no.
And this is more to your point about misinformation, is that the people are coming from a genuine place where they don't understand the nature of this chemical, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like this is awful." Like I used to eat like a pear, and now there's
All these things in this
Right.
beer.
So certainly I'm not here to defend Big Pharma, but we also have to understand people are living longer, healthier lives than ever before. It wasn't that long ago, median, age death was 50, 60.
Right, exactly.
I have a customer that's 104 that
Sweet.
drives to the store once a week. He's 104 driving his car. We are healthier now than we've ever been.
Well, and going back to what you said, Doc, is that people haven't seen a lot of these diseases wreak havoc on people.
No.
And it's really been interesting since COVID. It's the only thing I've lived through, I guess, that I was aware of. And I find people blame the vaccinations on things that are wrong with them now more than the actual COVID disease. And I'm so curious if there was ever any corroboration of that or any discussion of that in the medical industry.
That was certainly looked at, and essentially, a big thing people worry about, a big thing people bring up is, pericarditis, heart inflammation. And people say, well, this is the percentage of people who take the vaccine who get this. But the percentage of people who get COVID who have pericarditis is actually higher than the background percentage with the vaccine. So it's the point. The side effects are almost always higher in COVID.
Okay.
So letting it run amok within the
Why
population.
do we focus? Yeah, it's so curious to me about all of that kind of stuff. And maybe shifting tacks or tracks a little bit. Let's talk about viruses versus bacteria versus this or that. Actually, my sister called me the other day and she said, "Oh my gosh, I have some E. coli." I'm like, 3 Pepto-Bismol and come, take them every day for 3 weeks and come back and talk to me from the non-medical person.
Yes.
Right. Well, just saying.
Thank you, Dr. Debi.
Yeah, you get what you pay for, right? Anyway, but what are the differences? What is a virus? What are examples of that? Bacteria, fungus. What am I forgetting?
Do you want to briefly talk about, along with E. coli, you can tie it in, of gut health?
Yeah.
Gut health.
Gut.
Oh,
How
gut.
important gut health is, because everybody has E. coli, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh.
how does your functioning gut help you with, when you talk about chemicals, we take in chemicals, when we swallow bacteria, we swallow
Brilliant.
bacteria every single day.
Right.
Brilliant.
You touch your hands, you sneeze. I mean,
Yeah.
lots of things going on.
As my mentors used to say, the world is a big place covered by a thin layer of poop.
That might be our new tagline.
I like that. Mind your health, where the world is covered by.
So we're all. I always tell patients that we're not sterile and nothing. A lot of times I have these concerns. Oh my gosh, my wound grew this, my urine grew this. What does this mean? And we're all just covered with bacteria. Our mouth has tons of bacteria, and so and so does our gut. And many of these bacteria help to regulate normal gut function, and
Right.
then people take probiotics to sort of replenish them, our stomach acid helps kill quite a large amount of bacteria
Okay.
and viruses when food gets ingested, and it goes through the intestines, and we have a certain formulation of we have a certain composition of bacteria within the gut that helps regulate excretion and all that, and digestion.
So bacteria is not just a bad thing. It can
No,
be a really good
no,
thing.
it is. And
Okay.
when it gets this, unfortunately, when we have to give a necessary course of antibiotics and we disrupt we can disrupt the particular composition of different bacteria within the gut, which causes, people say, oh, I took antibiotics, had diarrhea for
Right.
3 days. That's sort of the consequence of that, is that it's almost never possible to kill just the bad bacteria.
Right.
You kill some of the good ones too. But yeah, the bad ones are going to kill you faster, so you have to kill them.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Yeah.
then
This
stop.
is benefit risk thing.
Yeah, it's
I want to.
like everything in life.
That's right. I want to go back to children just for a quick second,
Okay.
because we both have children and grandchildren.
Yeah.
What's my number one takeaway
Oh, I
to
love
keep my
this. Yeah.
grandson from getting sick? Other than, wash his hands, I get, in good, proper nutrition, but kids get sick.
Yeah.
My grandson struggles with ear infections.
I mean,
You've got a 3-year-old.
yeah. Well, obviously, outside of hand washing, vaccines, and all that, it's very difficult to keep them from getting the sick if
just
they're
get
predisposed. Kids just get sick. It's just part of it. I mean, you can't. On one hand, if you keep them completely isolated, never let them go to the playground or go to daycare or interact with anyone, it might be more detrimental to them than just playing with kids and getting sick. But you still want to give them that layer of protection against the scarier things with the vaccines, so they don't.
You've been great. I tell you what's fun is we could sit here and talk for the next 14 hours because we
Yes.
I'm still working on the whole world is covered by.
It's don't think about it.
I know.
Don't,
Yeah, that's
don't-
right.
Well, I'm all
As you
about-
wipe the table.
Right. Well, I'm all about a good compromised immune system is a healthy one. It just helps us build our natural whatever.
Yeah.
Is that true? No. Anyway.
We'll talk about that at another time.
It has been wonderful
Yeah.
to talk with you. Thank you for taking time. But if you were to give us a couple of quick takeaways,
Sure.
what do you think?
Check your sources. Don't give so much weight to things you hear on TikTok.
Oh, now you ruined my day. Exactly.
Your favorite influencer probably has very limited medical training, and their research does not consist of what research actually is. There's this great meme. I don't think what you're saying. I don't think what you're saying is actually what you mean to say. So essentially, people need to be just very vigilant about what's out there.
Exactly. I actually, on the back of my car now, I have don't believe everything you think.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's one of those two. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
yes.
I really appreciate it. It was great. Again, thank you all. And mind
Mind your health.
Mind your health.
Got to mind your health.